All right. And then let's dive in this beautiful Hosea study. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen already. You guys see it? Are you guys able to see my screen?
What?
I'm on a Zoom call, baby. I'm so sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to find my website icon right here. Okay. Do you guys see it? Okay, perfect. Bear with me. Like I said, this is not my computer, so everything is like, where is everything? Okay, so we're gonna start for this study, the first time in forever, I'm not gonna utilize the Targums. I couldn't find, at least online, a Targums translation for Hosea. In English anyhow. I found in Hebrew, but I don't speak Hebrew. But like I was saying, we're going to keep it in the canon, and I'm going to use, I'm going to use my, what am I call it? I am going to use my NKJV translation because that's what I already have set up in my study. So having said that, we're going to start with chapter 1. But before we start with chapter 1, I kind of want to give you a little bit of an overview of Hosea. So going back to Canva, and I found this picture. Obviously, I don't like using like the pictures that are online because it's so like not descriptive of what the true Israelites looked like. However, I do like what this image portrays because we see here Hosea with his wife, which was a prostitute, and him basically buying her off from one of her lovers. And it's such a strong image because it literally portrays our Father with the house of Israel. So having said that, okay, having said that, welcome, Karina. Welcome, Michelle. I see Doris. Welcome, guys. So this is a little bit of a timeline. I'm not gonna go deep in it. If you guys, by the way, you guys can unmute yourselves. If you want, guys have any comments, it's kind of hard for me to keep up with messages, just FYI. So I'm gonna try. But this is basically this is the timeline of Hosea. We see here that he is right smack in the middle between Jonah, Amos, Nahum, and Micah. So these are the 12 minor prophets. What they're called minor prophets, we know it's because their messages were not long enough, but their messages were still just as powerful as the rest of the prophets in scriptures. So Hosea particularly prophesied between 755 to 722 BCE, and he particularly prophesied to the kingdom of Israel, or the house of Israel, which we know was the northern kingdom. And just to give you guys a little bit of background, you guys, most of you know this already, but you know that the kingdom of Israel during the times of right after the times of King Solomon, they were split into two kingdoms. The northern kingdom went to the northern part of the country, and meaning the house of Israel, and the house of Judah went to the southern part. They were in Jerusalem, the house of Judah, together with Benjamin and the Levites. And then the house of Israel had the rest of the 10 tribes located in their capital, Samaria. So, sorry, this is so blurry. I just realized it because I did it on the phone. I just want to give you a little bit of background. Again, history. If you guys can't see it, I'm still going to say it. So you find this information, by the way, in 2 Kings 14 through chapter 20, and also in 2 Chronicles 26. So during the time of Hosea was literally right when the reign of Jeroboam the second began, which was a king that was an Ephraimite from the tribe of Ephraim of the northern kingdom, and he absorbed the 10 tribes when they got split. So again, I'm just going to read through this really quick. Hosea was a prophet, again, who lived in the northern kingdom of Israel in the 8th century. His name means salvation. And by the way, guys, everything about the book of Hosea is not there by coincidence. Everything in scriptures, period. I just love it, how everything just plays out perfectly. His name is salvation, redemption, which is basically the message that our Abba is conveying through the book of Hosea. He prophesied during and following the reign of the wicked king, like I mentioned before, Jeroboam II. And we know that the kingdoms got split, and we know that the house of Israel, by the way, is also referred throughout scriptures as Ephraim. So house of Israel is the same as saying the northern kingdom or Ephraim. And in Hosea's time, the northern kingdom was facing many internal issues, including idolatry, religious hypocrisy, and a rapid succession of kings who often attained power through conspiracy and violence. And this, you can find it in 2 Kings, again, chapter 15, but all throughout chapter 14 through chapter 20. Additionally, they faced significant external threats from the Assyrians, who eventually conquered them. And again, I'm giving you a little bit of background history. And again, all of this is the background of Hosea's message while he's prophesying throughout this book. I am going to begin with the first 3 chapters today. And basically the first 3 chapters is going to speak on Hosea's marriage. And I'm going to try to, let's see how we do with time, but I want to speak on the message that Abba is already outlining for us during this time period, where he's telling Hosea to get married to this Gomer lady. Where is, again, my icons? I cannot find anything here. My goodness. Okay. All right. So having said all of that, I feel like I spoke a whole lot. Who wants to read the chapter 1 of Hosea? And you can read it from the screen that I have here, or you can read it from...
I can read.
Thank you, Eileen.
I don't see it on the screen.
Are you not seeing my screen?
No. Well, I see the outline.
Oh, Okay, you know what? Let me stop my share and let me do this again, because I don't know why it's not. I guess because I have to click here on desktop, maybe. Let me try this now. Do you see it now?
Yeah, I see.
Okay. Were you guys able to see my screen at all before?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. I did all that and you guys didn't see. Okay. Go ahead and start reading.
Okay. The word of the Most High that came to Hosea, the son of Beeri, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel. When the Most High began to speak by Hosea, the Most High said to Hosea, "Go, take yourself a wife of harlotry and children of harlotry, for the land has committed great harlotry by departing from the Most High." So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. And the Most High said to him, "Call his name Jezreel, for in a little while I will avenge the bloodshed of Jezreel on the house of Jehu, and bring an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel." It shall come. Wait, I'm
Do you see it?
confused. Where am I? It shall come to pass.
Yes, here. And verse 5.
It shall come to pass in that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. And she conceived again and bore a daughter. Then the Elohim said to him, "Call her name Loruhamah, for I will no longer have mercy on the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. Yet I will have mercy on the house of Judah, will save them by the Most High their Elohim, and will not save them by bow nor by sword or battle, by horses or horsemen. Now when she had weaned Loruhamah, she conceived and bore a son. Then the Halahim said, call his name Loami, for you are not my people, and I will not be your Elohim.
Okay, stop right there. We're going to stop right there. And I'm going to try to dive into these names and this marriage, by the way. I don't know if you guys are already starting to see the full picture, but basically Hosea is asked to marry this prostitute, like I mentioned earlier, named Gomer, as we just read, who clearly has many lovers. He's asked to take her into marriage covenant, and then she bears him 3 children, right? Which we're assuming they're all his, because at this point we don't know whether they are truly bloodline his or not. Especially that she was a prostitute. And we see here verse 4, he starts with the name of the first son, and he asks him to name him Jezreel. For in a little while I will avenge the bloodshed of Jezreel on the house of Jehu and bring an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. So right off the bat, the first son is basically, he is telling you that he is going to scatter this people from this son. And by the way, Hosea, the whole book of Hosea, it's a poetry. I love how poetic in nature it is, how he writes, well, how Abba has him write. And Abba, and I just realized how, like, as I was studying this book, how poetic is our creator, and how everything he conveys, the message that he's trying to convey to his bride, it's about a marriage and about a covenant and about a people who is in covenant, which is the chosen nation of Israel. And so, like I said before, the whole kingdom of Israel had gotten split. We're talking, just in case you weren't following through or you connected a little after, the kingdom of Israel got split because of their disobedience, because they fell out of covenant due to Solomon's sin. And right now, the house of Israel is the 10 tribes whom Hosea is particularly prophesying to. But something that I want you guys to understand, and by the way, if you get lost at any point in time because this is too much for you, you've never heard of this, please stop me and I'll go back. I'll try to slow down, okay? But I do want to show you a few connections with Jezreel, the first son. So if we look into, can you all see my screen, by the way, you should be able to now, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Like I was saying, connecting, oh my goodness, I hate that the screen does this here. Connecting Jezreel, the first son, with prophecies and scriptures. We're gonna go to Genesis 48, verses 17 through 19. And this is the part, by the way, when Jacob, which we know that Jacob is Israel, was named Israel, right? When Jacob was giving the blessing to Joseph's 2 boys, right? Manasseh and Ephraim. So I'm not going to get into it, study it on your own, but basically, he had already told Joseph that both Manasseh and Ephraim is as if they were his own. So he was taking them in as if they were literally directly under the lineage of Jacob instead of Joseph. And because of that, he was giving the father's blessing before passing away. And so this is the part now that he's giving the blessing. So starting on verse 17. Now, when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. So he took hold of his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. And Joseph said to his father, not so, my father, for this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. But the father refused and said, I know, my son, I know. He also shall become a people, meaning Manasseh, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother, meaning Ephraim, shall be greater than he, and his descendants shall become a multitude of nations. And this is the key right here. Why do we need to know this? Because the northern kingdom, aka the house of Israel, is also referred to in scriptures, like I mentioned earlier, as the house of Ephraim. Okay, so the blessing that he gives Ephraim is that they would become a multitude of nations. And when you look this up, and by the way, shout out to Karina for giving me this idea to search out Strong's in this way. This is but wait, what is it again? I can't see with all the, it's called Bible Hub. Okay, I'm like, yes, that. And I love the way it kind of groups it in a little chart. And this is the same verse that we just read, Genesis 48:19. But I want you guys to focus on this part down here where it says, shall become a multitude of nations. This is the part that we are focusing on. Ephraim is given this blessing, and shall become a multitude of nations is Melohagoyim, however you pronounce that. The multitude of nations is Melohagoyim. And it literally means fullness, that which fills a nation or people. In better translation, it's literally the nation of that is of the Most High, the nation out of all the nations, right? And why is that important? Because we see a promise made in the book of Deuteronomy, a prophecy in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27. It says the following, and the Most High will scatter you among the peoples, and you will be left few in number among the nations where the Most High will drive you. And again, we know that this was a result if you didn't obey the commandments, meaning if you were not to remain in covenant. That was basically a promise or a prophecy given. We also see in Deuteronomy 28, verse 36, the Most High will bring you and the king whom you set, the Most High will bring you and the king whom you set over you to a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there shall serve other gods, and there shall you serve other gods. Sorry, I had to move things out of my way. Wood and stone. Why is this important to understand? Because the promise that is given to Ephraim, let me go back to Hosea, is literally what the name Jezreel means. Jezreel means Elohim scatters. So I don't know if you guys, do you need me to slow down with this? Are you guys understanding the connection with this? Hosea marries a prostitute. A prostitute is a representation of the house of Israel. Literally what they did with the Most High is they went into whoredom. Or shall we say we went into whoredom because we're part of that people. A people who once was not a people, right? And so this is the first son, Jezreel, already scattered because of the prophecy that they would be scattered throughout all the nations. And then we see here in verse 6, then Gomer conceived a second daughter, a second child, which happens to be a daughter, and her name was Lo-Ruhamah, which means no mercy. He would have no mercy, right? Or not loved. It literally has two meanings, not loved or no mercy. And it literally tells you, for I will no longer have mercy on the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away, which is also a promise given to the house of Israel, or given to Israel, period, if they would not stay or remain in covenant. We see that the opposite of this was found in Exodus 34, 6 through 7. And the Most High passed before him and proclaimed, the Most High, the Elohim, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abounding in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and the children's children to the third and the fourth generation. So this is literally the opposite of this. He is a merciful father, but then he prophesies through Hosea's daughter that he would have no mercy on this people. Okay. We also see a third, yes, this is the third child over here, verse 9, Loami. Sorry, let me see something. Okay, I just wanted to point out something here, verse 7, that it says that this was obviously for the house of Israel, right? I will have no longer mercy on the house of Israel. But in verse 7, we also see that yet I will have mercy on the house of Judah. Okay, we'll save them by the Adon, their Elohim. So we know, I want to make a distinction here, because we know that the house of Judah, and if you want more insight on this, we have a whole study that Steph and I did a while back, our first study together. So it's needs a little tweaking there, but we did a study on explaining all of these things with details, the house of Judah versus Stephanie's like, we need a redo. Absolutely. Versus the house of Israel. But in essence, what we had said in that study is that because the house of Judah had 4 righteous kings that led them back to covenant with the Most High, they were able to actually come out of captivity in 70 years, as opposed to from Babylon, by the way, as opposed to the house of Israel, which went into captivity to Assyria. And I believe they're still in captivity till today. Yeah, they were scattered throughout all the nations. But the difference with Judah is that Judah actually returned back to the land. Obviously, through that bloodline is that Messiah was later born. Okay, any questions until now? I heard some noises, and there's a dog behind me. Everyone good? Okay. So I'm going to continue. Third child, verse 9, Lo-ami. So Lo-ami literally means not my people, okay? For you are not my people, and I will not be your Elohim. Oh my goodness, this one always gets me. And we see the same idea he later mentions in Hosea 2:23. I didn't put it here, but oh yeah, it's down here. Hosea 2:23. Then I will sow her for myself in the earth, and I will have no mercy on her who had not obtained mercy. Then I will say to those who were not my people, you are my people, and they shall say, you are my Elohim. So here we see a connection with the 3 children, and at the end, how he promises to redeem the people who was not a people once. And we see the same idea in 1 Peter 2:10, where it says, who once were not a people. By the way, and Peter was writing to Gentiles here, just FYI. He was writing to a Gentile nations. If you look into 1 Peter, even the very first chapter, he tells you who he is addressing the letters to, and these are all Gentile nations, okay? So he's writing to them, telling them who once were not a people, but are now the people of Elohim, who had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. And I hope you guys are catching on to this. So something that you have to understand is that in 721 BCE, this prophecy right here through Hosea starts taking place, which is, trying to find it here, Deuteronomy 28:36. This starts taking place, which is, I believe we had already read it. Yes, we had already read it, but reiterating, the Adon will bring you and the king whom you set over you to a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known. And there you shall serve other gods, wood and stone. So right here, we start seeing the fulfillment of that prophecy. And I want to add, let me see. It is here. Yes, I have it here. I wanna set a little reminder that the Most High through Jeremiah had told the house of Israel, or the northern kingdom, Ephraim, that they were officially divorced. And we see it here, Jeremiah 3:8. Then I saw that for all the causes for which backsliding Israel had committed adultery, I had put her away and given her a certificate of divorce. So you see the metaphor and the poetry, the use of words throughout scriptures. It's all to do with a people in covenant, an engagement, a betrothal, a marriage that is to consummate with him at the marriage supper of the Lamb. You see the same idea continues when we're no longer in covenant, we are divorcing him. So he gives the house of Israel, again, a certificate of divorce. Yet it says that her treacherous sister Judah did not fear, but went and played the harlot also. However, we see that Judah remained in covenant, even though she kind of cheated here and there. He never officially divorced Judah, the house of Judah. Why? Because of the fact that they actually returned back in covenant. We see that through Ezra, through Nehemiah, they go back to the land. We read the stories of the Maccabees, etc., etc. Messiah is born through that bloodline. Here comes our Redeemer. So let's go back. Let me see. Somebody was writing something. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Karina said, someone told me that if you do the math, their captivity expired already. If you do the math with their punishment times 70 or something like that, based off of a precept in Deuteronomy. And spiritually, their captivity of bondage from sin is over. And that is why they have been waking up these years. Yes, I agree with you. So their captivity was 400 years, which I do believe it was officially over. And that's when the waking up occurred. Interestingly, I hate to bring it into the study because it opens a whole can of worms, but interestingly, the African American slavery, I believe, ended in, I want to say, was it 2017 or 2019? Correct me, someone, if I'm wrong. But it was right before the pandemic. It officially, it was $400, $400. Ay, Dios mío, sorry, 400 years that it was 2019, right? It literally ended in 2019. And who here can tell me that literally you feel like you woke up right after that? Like your eyes were, it's almost like you were in a haze or in a dream, and you all of a sudden everything makes sense now. All of a sudden you start questioning everything. All of a sudden it's like you have this desire to open the Bible and read it for yourself, for it, what it actually says. I mean, so again, I believe that's part of the curse being over and done with in that spiritual sense. However, I do believe we're still in a spiritual captivity to the I mean, in the sense that we are still in Babylon, like spiritual Babylon. If you have been doing the Isaiah studies with our beautiful Hoti, Sister Stephanie, she has beautifully broken this down, how we are literally in mystery Babylon. And I believe it encompasses everything of Egypt, of Assyria, and we are here. And so we're still in the land. And I believe this slavery doesn't end officially until our Messiah redeems us. Our bridegroom picks up his bride officially, right? But we are free, however, from this curse that was given here, as long as we are coming back into covenant. Let's make sure you understand that. So now let's continue with chapter 1. Again, there was a lot in chapter 1, but I wanted to break it down because that gives the kind of like the basis for everything else. So the rest of Eileen, you can read the rest of chapter 1. I think it was just 10 and 11. Our bondage from the matrix has ended. Amen, Karina. Yes, Eileen, sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured or numbered. And it shall come to pass in the place where it was said to them, You are not my people, there it shall be said to them, You are sons of the living Elohim. Then the children of Judah and the children of Israel shall be gathered together and appoint for themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great will be the day of Jezreel.
Amen. So
Amen.
again, as with every prophecy, there's always that hope. Ooh, it gives me all the goosies. For restoration of his people, he redeems us. And I love that chapter 1 ends with this beautiful hope that we look forward to. And so verse 11, yet the number of the children of Israel again shall be as the sand of the sea, which was the exact same prophecy that was given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Which cannot be measured and numbered. And it shall come to pass in the place where it was said to them, You are not my people, which is literally Loami, the third child. You are not my people. There it shall be said to them, You are sons of the living Elohim. We see the gathering together on verse 11. Here. Then the children, okay. So we see the children of, again, the house of Judah and the children of Israel. So again, if you don't, people that don't know scriptures from cover to cover would read this and they think they're reading, like they don't know what they're reading. That was me before. And clearly it's because there's two kingdoms at this point. There's a house of Judah and there's a house of Israel, okay? And so Hosea here is prophesying the reunification of the two, which brings together the full kingdom of Israel. Remember, Judah came back to the land, which, by the way, came back for the times of Messiah. But FYI, in case you guys didn't know, that's a whole other study. Judah is also scattered now, not because of sin per se at that moment, but because they needed to be scattered right after Messiah ascended into the heavens. They had to go into all the nations, basically to go get the rest of Israel, right? Go into all the nations, but that's something we'll cover at the end of Hosea. But just giving you a sneak peek. Judah had to be scattered, which is why you see the 12 apostles or disciples had to go everywhere through the nations, okay? But the goal is to reunify both and shall be gathered together, okay? And appoint themselves one head. Who's the head? Our Mashiach. So that idea of gathering together comes from Deuteronomy 30. Where do I have that here? Here, 1 through 5. Now it shall come to pass when all these things come upon you, the blessing and the curse which I have set before you, and you call them to mind among all the nations where the Most High, your Elohim, drives you. Again, this was a prophecy given right when they went into covenant, right before coming into the promised land, right? And verse 2 says, and you return to the Most High, your Elohim, and obey his voice according to all that I command you today, you and your children, with all your heart and with all your soul, that the Adon, your Elohim, will bring you back from captivity and have compassion on you and gather you again from where? From all the nations where the Most High, your Elohim, has scattered you. If any of you are driven out to the farthest parts under heaven, this gives me goosebumps each time. From there, the Elohim will gather you, and from there he will bring you. Then the Adon, your Elohim, will bring you to the land which your fathers possessed. That's the New Jerusalem. And you shall possess it. He will prosper you and multiply you more than your fathers. So why do I share this precept? Sorry. Because that is the promise that Hosea, the Most High through Hosea is giving, that he's going to gather all of them together. And again, I believe, like Karina was saying, we're living in that fulfillment of the times. So let's continue. How are we doing on time? Let me check. Any questions up to this point? I see Yazzie has shared a precept. Let me see. Genesis 26:4. I will make the promise to Abraham or Jacob, one of them. I think it was Abraham, right? I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and will give them all these lands. And through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed. Amen. And we know that we are to be part of that bloodline, as stated by Paul himself in, I believe, Galatians. We're from the seed of Abraham. All right, let's, and again, Galatians, a Gentile nation. All right, who wants to read chapter 2?
I can read it.
Thank you.
Say to your brethren, my people, and to your sisters, mercy is shown. Bring charges against your mother, bring charges, for she is not my wife, nor am I her husband. Let her put away her harlotries from her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts, lest I strip her naked and expose her, as in the day she was born, and make her like a wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. I will not have mercy on her children, for they are the children of harlotry. For their mother has played the harlot. She who conceived them has behaved shamefully. For she said, I will go after my lovers, who give me my bread and my water, my wool and my linen, my oil and my drink.
Therefore, behold, I will hedge up your way with thorns and wall her in, so that she cannot find her paths.
Sorry, let me bring it all the way up. Here. And just, yeah, just finish the whole chapter.
Okay.
I'll recap afterwards. Actually, not the whole chapter, up to verse 13, my bad.
Okay. She will chase her lovers, but not overtake them. Yes, she will seek them, but not find them. Then she will say, I will go and return to my first husband, for then it was better for me than now. For she did not know that I gave her grain, new wine, and oil, and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal. Therefore, I will return and take away my grain in its time and my new wine in its season, and will take back my wool and my linen, given to cover her nakedness. Now I will uncover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and no one shall deliver her from my hand. I will also cause all her mirth to cease, her feast days, her new moons, her Sabbaths, all her appointed feasts. And I will destroy her vines and her fig trees, of which she has said, these are my wages that my lovers have given me. So I will make them a forest, and the beasts of the field shall eat them. I will punish her for the days of the Baals to which she burned incense. She decked herself with her earrings and jewelry, and went after her lovers. But me she forgot, says the Most High.
All right, let's stop right there. Oh, okay. So again, I know I'm reiterating, it's the same message, the same poetry. Our Abba is a very romantic father, husband, creator, right? And the way that he speaks is you feel like the passions, the emotions. I don't know. I felt them all like rereading through Hosea. So going back, chapter 2 off the bat is going to start with his love for the unfaithful people, which we know is a representation of Hosea's wife, Gomer, his unfaithful bride. So he's right there telling him, my people, and to your sister, mercy is shown. You got to remember, he had already said, Loami, that there is, not Loami, Lohu what? Lo Ruhama, sorry. Lo Ruhama, no mercy, that he would have no mercy. But here, it's almost like, the way I kind of see Abba through this is, it's like this husband who is so full of love, full of passion, yet he is pissed off when he finds her after he rescues her, giving herself away to many lovers, getting herself decked up with all this silver and gold and whatnot, instead of just relying on him. And he's pissed, he's ready to cut her off, right? But then he's like, but I still love her though. Oh, I don't know, like I see him going like through all the motions and emotions, and I kind of see him as a father also, like with a child, not just like a marital thing, but also as a father with a child. When your child breaks your commandments, your rules, right? And you're so pissed, like you're ready to cut that boy off, like get out of my house, you're gonna learn, boy, you're gonna learn. And then you throw him to the streets, like he's gonna have to work his butt off, he's gonna have to, learn his lesson. But at the same time, then you're like, I'll come back though. Like, learn your lesson, I'm gonna let you learn your lesson, but then I'm gonna go and get you. When you learn your lesson and you have no other choice, I'm gonna go and get you. That's kind of like how I see him through these poems, right? I don't know if that makes sense, right? Okay, so right here he's telling Hosea, I'm gonna show them mercy, right? So God, the Most High's unfaithful people, to me, is a representation of the unbelievers or the grapes. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the idea of us being split into 3 harvests, meaning the barley, the wheat, and the grapes. The harvest of the barley being the elect, those that are in covenant. The harvest of the wheat being those that believe, but they're kind of like lukewarm type of thing, right? Like churchianity in general. And then we have the grapes, which they're completely not his people, or unbelievers, right? So here we see this idea right here of the grapes. And you see it here where it says, bring charges against your mother, bring charges, for she is not my wife, meaning a person, a people, not a person or a nation, right? Not in covenant. She is not my wife. This is a person who is divorced. I'm done with you. You're done. Like, that's it. And he is clear, and I am not her husband, right? And then he says, let her put away her harlotries from her side and her adulteries from between her breasts. And then obviously this is his wrath right here, stripping her naked, exposing her, etc., etc. But look at this little part right here, and make her like a wilderness. To me, how do I see this part? It's almost like in order for that person to truly wake up and realize I am not a people, I am completely lost, completely out of covenant, that person must be in the wilderness in order for that person to snap out of it. And I believe, obviously, this is a poem. I get it, but you can kind of see it like that as well, right? To make her like a wilderness and set her like a dry land and slay her with thirst. And again, this also reminded me of the story of the Samaritan woman when Messiah goes to her and tells her, which, by the way, a Samaritan woman is from what kingdom? Let's see if you guys are paying attention. Where is Samaria? What's the capital of Samaria for? Which kingdom? The southern kingdom or the northern kingdom? Not all at once. Yes, the northern kingdom, Israel, the house of Israel. So right here, again, this reminded me of the woman from Samaria, which is from the northern kingdom again, how Messiah tells her, well, it's a beautiful thing how he meets her when she's getting water. What a coincidence, right? Again, the coincidence of Abba. And he gets her when she's getting water, and then he's promising that the water that he can give her, she will never thirst anymore. She will not thirst anymore. I'm obviously paraphrasing, but again, a connection with us thirsting and us being in the wilderness, in a dry land, is a place where we are going to need him, because only he can give us and satiate that thirst, and obviously give us hope and a future. So again, going back to unfaithful people not in covenant, or AKA the grapes. It says here, I will not have mercy on her children, for they are children of harlotry, meaning not of covenant. And again, now he's talking about their mother played the harlot, etc., that she went after many lovers, which is exactly what Israel, the house of Israel particularly did. The house of Israel, and we're going to see it throughout the book of Hosea, went after many gods, meaning lovers. And even while they were still give offerings to the Most High and whatnot, they were still doing it also for the other gods, which is exactly also what Solomon was doing. Solomon built a beautiful temple for the Most High first, and was bringing all the sin offerings, all the peace offerings, you name it, was doing it all. But then he raised other high places and altars for the Baals, the other gods as well. And so it's the same idea of going after many other lovers. And so I wanted to see something else here. Okay, so this part, she will chase her lovers, verse 7, but not overtake them. Yes, she will seek them, but not find them. And then she will say, I will go and return to my first husband. And again, verse 7 connects with the idea of being in a wilderness. We're going to see if later I have time to read through Luke chapter 15 with the parable of the prodigal son, because this is my people. This is definitely it right there. The idea of you having nothing left but to recognize that you are thirsty and hungry and that you need to return back to him. So that's the idea behind the wilderness and behind the scattering. I don't know if you guys are capturing this message, because it's deep. It's beautiful, profound, and it's full of gems. The idea of why this just and righteous Father that we have allowed us to go through the curse of being in slavery, of being literally scattered through all the nations, because from there he knew that our remnant will do exactly this. will go and return to the first husband, which we know our husband is Mashiach. And so, and this is exactly, by the way, what the prodigal son says, for then it was better for me than now, right? Sounds almost like verbatim what the son does when he is eating from the pig's food. He said, even the slaves, even the servants had it better, right? So verse 8, for she did not know that I gave her grain, new wine, and oil, and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal. And again, this is exactly what Israel did, what we did, right? We took for granted what he was giving us. We took for granted the hope, the shalom, the eternal life, all of it. Him feeding us day after day, we took it for granted, and we went literally after silver and gold and to the gods of this world, into the which money, fame, position, you name it, everything else except for going back to him. It's the same exact concept. But there, verse 9 is the promising one where it says, therefore I will return and take away my grain in its time and my new wine in its season. And I think this is interesting that he takes it in its time and in its season, because everything is at an appointed time. And I will take back my wool and my linen given to cover her nakedness, which we know nakedness, it's also sin in scriptures. And we know that sin is lawlessness. Let me just keep up with the messages really quick before I continue. Yasmin said, that reminded me of the precept in Revelations 3:17, because thou sayest, I am rich and increased with goods and have need of nothing, and knowest not that thou art wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked. Woo, that's a perfect precept for that. Thank you, Yazi. And then Karina said, that is why the southern kingdom didn't get along with Samaritans. Yes. And here we have false shepherds just saying that the Jews just didn't like other people from other nations, completely missing the reason, the connection with the Samaritans. Yes, absolutely. Stephanie said, it's like in Judges 10, when the people were suffering and begged the Most High. Judges 10:11, we have sinned. Do with us whatever you think is best, but please rescue us now. Nothing new under the sun. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. He exposes her. It reminds me of the harlot who was put before Messiah, that he had mercy on and told, sin no more. Absolutely. Go and transgress my law no more. Woo! All these connections, guys. Thank you. All right, let's continue. And then, okay, so here's the part, obviously, of the punishment that he allows her to be exposed, meaning Israel. And then it talks about he will cause her mirth to cease her. And this is so funny, because this is literally what we came out of. We were in a nation that was not keeping the feast days, the new moons, the Shabbats, the appointed feasts, all of the Moedims, right? And he caused them to cease. Literally, it's not that they ever stopped. These things are eternal, but it's because you are not already in covenant. You're not even observing these things. And again, the curses continue, but I just want to, the last part, verse 13, after the punishment, it says, okay, no, we haven't read that. Sorry, this is the second half of chapter 2. But yeah, so basically, she had gone after other lovers, like I said, which is the house of Israel, and we forgot all about the Most High. And this is where he starts showing all his emotions. And this is, I believe, he has a change after saying all the judgments. This is what he does after the judgments. And this is the second half. You can read now through it, Stephanie.
Therefore, behold, I will allure her, will bring her into the wilderness, and speak comfort to her. I will give her her vineyards from there, and the valley of Achor as a door of hope. She shall sing there, as in the days of her youth, as in the day when she came up from the land of Egypt. And it shall be in that day, says the Most High, that you will call me my husband, and no longer call me my master. For I will take from her mouth the names of the Baals, and they shall be remembered by their name no more. In that day I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, with the birds, with the birds of the air, and with the creeping things of the ground. Bow and sword of battle I will shatter from the earth to make them lie down safely. I will betroth you to me forever. Yes, I will betroth you to me in righteousness and justice, in loving kindness and mercy. I will betroth you to me in faithfulness, and you shall know the Most High. It shall come to pass in that day that I will answer, says the Adon. I will answer the heavens, and they shall answer the earth. The earth shall answer with grain, with new wine, and with oil. They shall answer Jezreel. Then I will sow her for myself in the earth, and I will have mercy on her who had not obtained mercy. Then I will say to those who were not my people, you are my people. And they shall say, you are my Elohim.
Amen. And this is what I mean about his mercy, his goodness, and like that part of, but I love you and I want you back aspect of our creator. And again, it keeps popping up. I can't unsee it. I don't know if you guys see it with me. And again, the purpose of the wilderness, which we know, I didn't put it in the precepts here, but we know in Deuteronomy states that he brought the people of Israel to the wilderness to test them, to see if whether they would keep his commandments or not. Correct? And so this is a people who is no longer a people, who is a people out of covenant, but he brings that people back into a wilderness. And look what it says here: I will allure her, will bring her into the wilderness and speak comfort to her. So it's in the wilderness when we have nothing else left. Ooh, I feel fire. When we have nothing else left, where he comes, that he knows now their heart is ready. Now their posture is ready to receive me. Because he knows that if we would have left us just where we were, we would not return back to him. And this is the beauty of Hosea and the beauty of connecting it all, that he allows us to be scattered. He allows us to go through it in the wilderness in order for this, in order to give us back vineyards, and in order to give us the valley of Acre as door of hope, which we know this is a representation of Mashiach himself, our hope of glory, our blessed hope. And look what it says, she shall sing there, as in her days of youth. I saw someone, I think it was Jessica, said earlier, this reminds me of the first love. Yes, going back to our first love, which is in a Revelation, one of the Ephesus, I believe it is from the churches, the 7 churches, going back to our first love. So we shall sing there, as in the days of our youth, as in the day when she came up from the land of Egypt. In other words, as in the day where we were actually taken out of captivity. And this, again, this is Hosea speaking to his wife, right? Who is a harlot. And again, by no coincidence, because this is what the house of Israel was to the Most High, a harlot. And it says that it shall be in that day. By the way, guys, I kid you not, I cried rereading this. I was bawling because I felt he was speaking to my heart deep. And I pray that it does the same to you. It says here, and it shall be in that day, says the Adon, that you will call me my husband, Ishi. And you know that who is the husband, if not Mashiach? So this word Lord right here is not Lord as it's translated, is Mashiach, the Adon, that you will call me my husband and no longer call me my master, or Bailey in Hebrew. For I will take from her mouth her names, the names of the Baals. And we're going to look into this right now really quick. And they shall be remembered by their names no more. Before I go into the Baals really quick, I just want to go in regards to the wilderness. I want to read Isaiah 54 here. 54:6. For the Adon has called you like a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, like a youthful wife when you were refused, says the Adon. Isn't that beautiful? It's the same metaphor throughout scripture. He has called you like a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit because you were a harlot, like a youthful wife when you were refused. Oh my goodness. I also wanted to read Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 2. Oops. Give me 1 second. Let me move this. Go and cry in the hearing of Jerusalem, saying, Thus says the Adon, I remember you, the kindness of your youth, the love of your betrothal, when you went after me again in the wilderness, in a land not sown. Guys, it's literally throughout. It's literally throughout. I kid you not, it just blows my mind. Blows my mind, the connections. I'm gonna try to catch up with your comments right now. Let me just go through this really quick. So again, the engagement, the betrothal, which is technically the same thing. Betrothal for us today is engagement. That's the same meaning, right? And the betrothal, the engagement takes place in the wilderness. And it's so funny because that's literally how it happened. In the times of Moses, the engagement of the people of Israel, where they committed themselves to be in covenant with him and keep all his statutes, all his ordinances and his laws, it literally took place again. You guys say it? In the wilderness. And so again, the wilderness is a place of testing. And I believe his elect have to be brought to the wilderness in order to be sifted. I believe everyone will be brought back to the wilderness, but the true wilderness, the ones that will remain and come back in covenant, are the elect, which is a representation of Jezreel, or the barley, which is why we see down here, the earth shall answer with grain, with new wine, and with oil they shall answer Jezreel. So Jezreel is a representation again of the barley. And now going back to the Baals, I just want to, let me see if I can do it with this translation here. Let me see, give me 1 second, guys, so the Baals. Okay, which is the Baalim, which is the same thing. Yeah. So let's just click really quick on what it means. Baals literally means Lord. And it says, again, that he will remove, I will take from her mouth the names of the Baals, or the lords, right? And they shall be remembered, by their name no more. By their name, meaning the name of these lords, no more. Interestingly, we see with this Lord and this Baal a connection, again, a Phoenician deity. And if you click on it, you even see, you have to go to I'm trying to remember where is it that when you click on it, it literally tells you Jehovah comes out. I should have done this with time, but I didn't. I'll do this on another occasion, but yes, but Baal also has the same strongs as Jehovah, which is why I don't like using that name, because it literally tells you that he will remove the names of the Baals. But yeah, that's a whole other study in its own. Let me go back to, so verse 17. And then it tells you, verse 18, and then it tells you, in that day, meaning the day where he removes those names from our mouths, right? I will make a covenant for them. And then he makes a covenant for us with basically creation, and for us to lie down in safety, basically. And then it says, I will betroth you to me forever. So this is where, right before the wedding supper of the Lamb. Yes, I will betroth you to me in righteousness and justice and loving kindness and mercy. This is the wedding supper of the Lamb. This is literally the engagement right before we consummate our marriage to him. It shall come to pass in that day that I will answer, says the Adon, I will answer the heavens, and they shall answer the earth. That reminds me of on earth as it is in the heavens. And the earth shall answer with grain and new wine and with oil, and they shall answer Jezreel. So, and there he has mercy on her who had not obtained mercy, which that is Lo Ruhama. Then I will say to those who were not my people, which that is Lo Ami, you are now my people. And they shall say, you are my Elohim. So many beautiful connections. I want to read. Oh, sorry, I forgot to show you these precepts in regard to the Baals that were worshipped during the time of the judges. Sorry, let's just read it really quickly. Any questions so far? Yeah, a lot going on here. I see tetragrammaton comments. Okay, let's just keep going. Judges 6:25 through 32. Now it came to pass the same night that the Adon said to him, take your father's young bull, the second bull of 7 years old, and tear down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the wooden image that is beside it, and build an altar to the Most High, your Elohim, on top of this rock in the proper arrangement, and take the second bull and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the image which you shall cut down. So Gideon took 10 men from among his servants and did as the Most High had said to him. But because he feared his father's household and the men of the city too much to do it by day, he did it by night. And when the men of the city arose early in the morning, there was the altar of Baal torn down, and the wooden image that was beside it was cut down. And the second bull was being offered on the altar which had been built. So they said to one another, who has done this thing? And when they had inquired and asked, they said, Gideon, the son of Joash, has done this thing. Then the men of the city said to Joash, bring out your son that he may die, because he has torn down the altar of Baal, and because he has cut down the wooden image that was beside it. But Joash said to all who stood against him, would you plead for Baal? Would you save him? Let the one who would plead for him be put to death by morning. If he is a god, let him plead for himself, because his altar has been torn down. Therefore, on that day, he called him Jerubbaal, saying, let Baal plead against him, because he has torn down his altar. So again, we see that the Israel worship, meaning all Israel at this point worship Baal in the time of the judges, and this is nothing new under the sun. And we see a connection with Jeremiah 20. Oh, I didn't put all of it. It's 27 through 32. Basically, I'm just gonna read 27, but basically, who try to make my people forget my name by their dreams, which everyone tells his neighbor, as their fathers forgot my name for Baal. And in essence, the rest of it, what it's saying is basically this is what caused the names of the Baals is what caused the people to forget his real name. Which in essence is why we today, I personally don't like to call him Lord, don't like to call him God, just God, don't like to call him, because we've been scattered to the nations and we've been caused to forget his name, Haya. And I like to address to him as the Most High, because he is the Most High God. There's many gods. And again, Abba can never go wrong with just calling him Father in his true essence. So let's continue. So again, answering Jezreel, Jezreel is the son who was scattered. And to make a connection with that, we have Jeremiah 50, verse 6. My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have led them astray. They have turned them away on the mountains, which this is also the wilderness, by the way. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. Ezekiel also connects beautifully with this idea of Jezreel. My sheep wandered through all the mountains and on every high hill. Yes, my flock was scattered over the whole face of the earth, and no one was seeking or searching for them. Verse 11, for thus says the Adon, indeed I myself, that's Mashiach, I myself will search for my sheep and seek them out, as shepherd seeks out his flock on the day he is among his scattered sheep. So I will seek out my sheep and deliver them from all the places where they were scattered on a cloudy and dark day. Why on a cloudy and dark day? Because it was a very cloudy and dark day for our Father to scatter the people and bring them into captivity. We see it in his emotions. We see him even when he gives the letter of divorce to the northern kingdom. It's definitely a very cloudy and dark day for him. Micah 2:12 as well conveys the same idea. I will surely assemble all of you, O Jacob, meaning all of you, meaning both kingdoms, both the northern and the southern kingdom. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together like sheep of the fold, like a flock in the midst of their pasture. They shall make a loud noise because of so many people. Sorry. So continuing, 1 Peter 2:10 gives the same idea of lo ruhama, which is that one who obtained no mercy. And he literally quotes from Hosea, who once were not a people, by the way, again, speaking to the Gentiles, who once were not a people, but are now the people of Elohim who had not obtained mercy, lo ruhama, but now have obtained mercy. And we have the same idea also gathered in Zechariah 13:9, when going in the wilderness. I will bring the 1/3 through the fire, will refine them as silver is refined, and test them as gold is tested. Again, the point of the wilderness, right? They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say, this is my people, and each one will say, the Adon is my Elohim. How beautiful is scriptures. I'm going to connect that again with Exodus 6 and 7. And this is obviously the reverse of this. This is when the promise, when he will take them in covenant, obviously, but I will take you as my people and I will be your Elohim. Then you shall know that I am the Adon, your Elohim, who brings you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And again, we're living out all of these prophecies. Let me see if I have one more precept. Actually, I do. Not sure if, you know what, let's just read it. Chapter 3 is really short, and 4 is just a few connections. So let's just read it. Let me try to cover it. This, again, is the idea of the parable of the wedding banquet. I know Stephanie and I have made reference to this as well in the past, but it's just perfectly illustrated by our Mashiach right here. It says, and Yahshua answered and spoke to them again by parables and said, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who arranged a marriage. Look at the language, guys. If people who just stick to the New Testament and don't understand the language Mashiach was using, you're missing out on everything, because it's literally, it all connects to the old, literally. So again, a king who arranged a marriage for his son, because it is a marriage, and sent out his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding, those who were in covenant, right? And they were not willing to come. Again, he sent out the other servants saying, tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and fatted cattle are killed, and all things are ready. Come to the wedding. But they made light of it and went their ways, one of his own farm, another to his business. And the rest seized his servants, treated them spitefully, and killed them. But when the king heard about it, he was furious, the king being the father, right? And he sent out his armies, destroyed those murderers, and burned up their city. Sounds a lot like the curses, right? Then he said to his servants, the wedding is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy, were lawless, not in covenant. Therefore, go into the highways, and as many as you find, invite to the wedding. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all whom they found. I wonder why, because they were scattered, right? Both bad and good. And the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guests, he saw a man, this is key right here, He saw a man who did not have on a wedding garment. And we know a wedding garment, it's a representation of having righteousness on, right? So he said to him, friend, how did you come in here without a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then the king said to the servants, bind him hand and foot, take him away and cast him into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called. And I think that connects beautifully with this idea. Let me just go back a little bit in the messages because I see a lot going on here. Yes, the Great Commission, whoever was willing. And again, in the Great Commission, what was it? Going to where? All the nations. That's a Great Commission, to go and scout out the lost sheep that was scattered. What an amazing and perfect plan from Abba to get back his sheep to come back. Too many comments. I can't keep up, but let me go back because if not, I lose track, and I want to be able to cover at least one more chapter, like I mentioned. So again, connecting all of that with Paul in Galatians 3 and 8, it says, and the scripture, foreseeing that the Elohim would justify the Gentiles by faith, preached the gospel to Abraham beforehand, saying, in you all the nations shall be blessed. Because we will all go back to being grafted into the same seed of Abraham. And that is the idea of this right here. Then I will say to those who are not my people, you are now my people, and they shall say, you are my Elohim. That is the whole idea. Any questions to this point? Because we're going to move on to the next chapter. Chapter 3 is pretty short. It's just 4 or 5 verses. Anything at all you guys want to share? All right, who wants to help me read chapter 3?
I can read it.
Thank you.
Okay. Then the Most High said to me, go again, love a woman who is loved by a lover and is committing adultery, just like the love of the Most High for the children of Yasharallah, who look to other gods and love the raisin cakes of the pagans. So I bought her for myself for 15 shekels of silver and one half homers of barley. And I said to her, you shall stay with me many days. You shall not play with the harlot, nor shall you have a man. So too I will be toward you. For the children of Yasharallah shall abide many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or sacred pillar, without ephod or teraphim. Afterward, the children of Yasharallah shall return and seek the Most High, their Elohim, and David their king. They shall fear the Most High and his goodness in the latter days.
When? In the
Latter
when? In the latter days prophecies. Woo! All right, let's break this down really quick. Israel will return. Dun dun dun. Okay. And this is what I like to call, by the way, I heard of a teacher. I don't know if he's a preacher. He is no longer alive, but when I first woke up to all these things, I started listening to many people, and I had come across, his name is Rob Skiba, it's his last name. And he had a whole teaching on the Ephraim awakening. And I was like mind blown the first time I heard that, because I'm like, what is that? The Ephraim awakening. And I believe, I'm not sure, because it was a while back that I heard this, but I believe this is what he referred to as the Ephraim awakening. Oh, somebody's drawing on my thingy. But basically, the Ephraim awakening, which is the house of Israel, that's Ephraim, right? We see here that the Adon says, go again and love another woman, love a woman who is loved by another lover, and again, committing adultery. And again, this is a example of what it is for him, because he has loved the children of Israel, or his people Israel, right? and who look, literally, he tells you there, who look to other gods and love the raisin cakes of the pagans. Ooh, why? Because they're in pagan nations. Everything is paganism. I wonder why, right? So the idea of that again is to portray this message. By the way, I feel Hosea, my boy Hosea is a righteous man. That's all I'm gonna say. It's like, Abba, you want me to do that for you? Sure, I'll do it. Let me break my heart for you. Ah, man, those were true righteous men and women out there in those days. But anyway, verse 2. So it says that he bought her for himself for 15 shekels of silver and half omers of barley. So I couldn't really find anything here. But the only thing I can think of is that they sold Messiah for 30 shekels of silver, and which was the value of a woman. And in this case, I believe it's 15 because of the fact that she is in adultery, so she is worth less. That's the only thing I can think of when I think of this. If you guys come up with anything else, you let me know. But I couldn't really find anything. But then again, he's also buying her with barley, which barley, in the harvest sense of it, is a representation of his elect. So I love kind of like the connection of both things. It's like she is worth half the price, but yet still elect. I don't know if that made any sense, but it kind of made sense in my head. So verse 3, and I said to her, you shall stay with me many days. You shall not play the harlot. So he gives her basically a commandment right there. I'm gonna buy you. I'm gonna buy you for your worth, and I'm gonna give you a bit more or whatever you're worth. But you shall not play the harlot. Basically, please don't commit adultery. Don't go after other gods. Don't have other people, right? And then it says, so too will I be toward you. So that's a covenant right there. Don't do this, and I will do the same towards you. So in essence, again, it's the children of Israel shall abide many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or sacred pillar, without ephod and teraphim. And by the way, I believe this is still us today. We don't have a physical righteous king, right? We have our Mashiach, but we don't have a righteous leader or a priesthood in place, like they had the Levites, for example, or they had David, for example. We don't have that. We don't have an altar, a physical one. Ephod or the teraphim, we don't have any of that. We have it spiritually, though. And yes, we don't have our priestly garments, though we know that spiritually we're working towards that. But then it says, afterward, the children of Israel shall return and seek the Adon and David their king. And we know that David their king is not talking about David like the literal David. It's talking about our Messiah. They shall fear the Adon and his goodness again in the latter days. And so a correlation that I kind of found that kind of goes with this is the verse 4, where it says, verse 4. Oh yeah, verse 4, where it talks about without sacrifice or a sacred pillar, kind of reminded me of Jacob in Genesis 28, 18 and 22. Then Jacob rose early in the morning and took the stone that he had put at his head, set it up as a pillar, and poured oil on top of it. And his stone, which I have set as a pillar, shall be the Adon's house. And of all that you give me, I surely give a tenth to you. So this is obviously when Jacob, and I didn't put another precept, I just see that I didn't put it, but this is basically when Jacob lived in exile and he was without his standing stone. So it's kind of like the same idea that is later expressed. We're going to see it later on in Hosea 11, not today, but on a different day. This same idea is expressed in Hosea 11, and it has to do with being in exile and looking for a place to put again, a pillar. And then we have in regards to David the king, down here, a prophecy of Messiah being our king in those days, which is a latter-day prophecy. We see it in Jeremiah 30, verse 9. But they shall serve the Adon their Elohim and David their king, whom I will raise up for them. So again, very similar words, almost verbatim. And then we see Matthew 15, verse 24. This is Messiah speaking, but he answered and said, I was not sent except for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And if you've never read this now, understanding all of this, who the house of Israel is, because at first we're taught that the house of Israel is just the one kingdom of Israel, meaning the Jewish people, but it's not. This is literally the house of Israel, the one that was scattered, the sheep that got scattered. He came as a shepherd to seek them out, as the prophecies we read earlier in Ezekiel and Jeremiah and in Micah. And then we see that this is a prophecy because Jeremiah had already prophesied that David, their king, will raise up, whom I will raise up for them, meaning for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So that's all I have for this chapter. We can continue on to chapter 4. And let me see the comments really quick. Yeah, the virgin was sold for 30 shekels. I just saw that. Sorry, I'm looking back. Sorry, I'm reading the Pentecostal shakes here. And then I saw Stephanie sharing something. Oh no, Karina. They wanted a king so bad long ago. Now Abba will give them a righteous one after so many failed. I mean, can't wait. Okay, so chapter 4. Can anyone read chapter 4?
I can read.
Thank you, Jess.
Okay. Where do you want me to read up to?
Yeah, I read up to 10.
Okay. Hear the word of the Most High, you children of Yasharallah, for the Most High brings a charge against the inhabitants of the land. There is no truth or mercy or knowledge of Allahim in the land. By swearing and lying, killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break all restraint with bloodshed upon bloodshed. Therefore the land will mourn, and everyone who dwells there will waste away, with the beasts of the field and the birds of the air. Even the fish of the sea will be taken away. Now let no man contend or rebuke another, for your people are like those who contend with the priest.
Yeah, sorry.
Therefore you shall stumble in the day, the prophet also shall stumble with you in the night, and I will destroy your mother. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because you have rejected knowledge. I also will reject you from being a priest for me, because you have forgotten the law of your Elohim. I also will forget your children. Whew. The more they increased, the more they sinned against me. I will change their glory into shame. They eat up the sin of my people. They set their heart on their iniquity. And it shall be like people, like priests, so I will punish them for their ways and reward them for their deeds. And for they shall eat, but not have enough. They shall commit harlotry, but not increase, because they have ceased obeying the Most High.
Okay, so let's stop right there. And again, I want to go back and show you guys this. Let me make sure you guys can see the same screen I'm seeing. Okay, now you can. I see it now. All right, so again, sorry. We just covered chapters 1 through 3, which is basically just lining up Hosea's marriage, the unfaithfulness, the discipline, and the restoration. And obviously it says Gomer, but we know that this is in regard to, obviously, to Israel, to the house of Israel. Now we're entering into Hosea's message. This is the message now that he gives Israel after giving the example with his wife and his children. And now between the next chapters, obviously we're not going to cover up to chapter 13 tonight. There's no way. But within the next chapters, the idea is it's basically a covenant lawsuit is set forth, showing how Israel has been an unfaithful bride. So this is basically what's taking place in the next following chapters. But even in the next following chapters, you see the hope, you see it all. But yes, this is basically like a covenant lawsuit that he's doing in all these chapters here, the call for repentance and whatnot. And sorry, let me go back to, where did it go? Go back to chapter 4 now. So we just read up to verse 10. And the first connection that I want to make with verse 2 particularly, and again, we actually see it here in the title, like the NKJV literally says, his charge against Israel. So it starts off like telling Hosea, giving out the message straightforward, like point blank, this was gonna happen to you for all you did. And Hosea's probably like livid because like I had to live it in the flesh. So I know what's up. I know what that feels like. I just thought about that. So yeah, so verse 2, by swearing and lying, killing and stealing, and committing adultery, they break all restraint with bloodshed upon bloodshed. And this is the reverse of the Abrahamic promise, which is found in Genesis 28:14, where it says, also your descendants shall be as the dust of the earth. You shall spread abroad to the west and the east, and to the north and the south. And in you and in your seed, all the families of the earth shall be baruch, or blessed. So, and here, obviously, we see the opposite. They're basically killing each other because of the curse. We see in verse 3 a connection, kind of like a connection. I'm just gonna like go over it really quick with Genesis 2:20, where it says, therefore the land will mourn, and everyone who dwells there will waste away. With the beasts of the field and the birds of the air, even the fish of the sea will be taken away. So kind of like a reverse of what happened in the beginning, in the beginning. Verse 20 of chapter 2 of Genesis. So Adam gave names to all cattle, to the birds of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found a helper comparable to him. And again, this has to do when, all the birds and the beasts of the earth were being created and multiplied. So now they're actually taken away instead of giving the authority to men to name them. Now, the popular verse, well, before I go into verse 6, I want to see in verse 4 where it says, for your people are like those who contend with the priest. And this connects with verse 6, where it says, I also will reject you from being priest for me. Again, verse 4, for people are like those who contend with the priest. And again, a priest is the idea of someone who's keeping Torah and guiding others to keep the commandments, to keep the Torah, to be in covenant. And because of that, he rejects you from being a priest to him. Now let's go into verse 6, the very popular verse 6 that everybody reads and keeps up to this part, right? Who's read it? Who actually always heard this verse till that part? Because I had never read the rest until I started opening my Bible. Everyone would just keep it at that. So in context, and mind you, it's the whole chapter 6. It goes together. It literally has a comma, not a period. It literally says, okay, so my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I will also reject you from being priest for me. Because you have forgotten the Torah of your Elohim, the law of your Elohim. I also will forget your children. That reminds me of Loami. Is it Loami, the not my people? Loami, right? Yes, Loami is not my people. Reminds me of that. So again, this word over here, you have rejected knowledge. It's not just mere knowledge of knowing. Wait, where do I have this here? So the word knowledge comes from the root word yada, however you pronounce that, yada. And it literally means, sorry, this computer put this like super weird for me, but it literally means that word knowledge here is not just to know, but it's to know, learn to know. You're going to see that it's to perceive and see. But besides all that, it's also to be made known, be or become known, be revealed, to know, be acquainted with, to know a person carnally, to know, basically in a nutshell, like to know one known acquaintance, what it's saying in itself is basically it's more than an intellectuality. It includes a relationship. It's like when you are with a person, you don't know of the person, you know the person. There's a difference. So in essence, what Abba's trying to convey here through Hosea, you have my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, meaning for not knowing him as a husband, exactly, be known in intimacy, exactly, which in essence, yes, Karina's knowledge of his Torah, because Torah is what the essence of what leads you to him. It's a covenant. The Torah is what seals that covenant between you and him. And so because you are you destroyed for the lack of that knowledge, and you have rejected, not only you are destroyed, but you have rejected that knowledge, he then rejects you because there's no, like Stephanie said, no intimacy. And like Karina said, no knowledge of his Torah. And because there's no knowledge of his Torah, you don't do it. You don't perform it. You don't understand it. You may think you know it, but you don't really know it. And then it literally tells you, in case you have doubts, because you have forgotten the law of your Elohim. And then a lot of people will read this and say, but this is for the priesthood, because it's saying, I will also reject you from being a priest to me. But we forget that we are called priesthood. First Peter, this is New Testament here, 2:9, but you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, set apart nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. And we know that this was again written to Gentiles by Peter, quoting from the book of Deuteronomy. And I also have here John 9, and in regards to rejecting knowledge, John 9:41, Messiah himself said to them, if you were blind, you would have no sin. But now you say, we see, therefore your sin remains. And why do I point this out? Because this has to do with knowledge in the book of Hosea 4:9 is not about the knowledge of, like when you sin and you don't know better, it's not counted truly for you as iniquity because you didn't know better. So there's still mercy. But it's more like the knowledge that you're rejecting is that one that you knew, but you still rejected, which is why he said, but now you say, we see, therefore your sin remains. So this is the type of knowledge that the house of Israel rejected. John 15:22, if I had not come and spoken to them, they would have no sin. But now they have no excuse for their sin. This is again Messiah speaking, because now they know the truth. And the truth shall set you free. Hebrews 6:6 reiterates the same idea. If they fall away, to renew them again to repentance, since they crucify against for themselves the Son of Elohim and put him to an open shame. I didn't put the whole, it was supposed to be longer. I'm pretty sure it's 6 through something. But basically what the chapter is saying here is that you don't, how do I say this? You can't really truly repent. Like you don't have forgiveness for your sins if you openly, knowingly, commit sin or lawlessness. And then in regards to verse 9, where it says, and it shall be like people like priests, so I will punish them for their ways and reward them for their deeds. This is a direct idea. Sorry, let me read this one first. A direct idea, this one, like people like priests, from that Isaiah also prophesied. I did not put it, did I? Isaiah 24. No, I didn't put it here. So let me look for it really quick here. Hold on. Give me 1 second, guys. Isaiah 24. By the way, if you guys want to talk instead of type, please feel free to do so. Because sometimes I forget the chat is going off. Yes, Stephanie, I see it now. Intentional lawlessness equals iniquity. Absolutely. Let me read Isaiah 24, verses 2 and 5. So, and it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the creditor, so with the debtor. And verse 5, the earth is also defiled under its inhabitants because they have transgressed the laws, changed their ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Stephanie went over this in her last Isaiah study. And it goes perfectly with this Hosea portion. And again, this right here, like what I was saying, so I will punish them for their ways and reward them for their deeds. This part reward right here is not a good reward. It's literally a reward for their negative deeds, for their lawless deeds. So basically they're going to get what they asked for, for not listening. And then it literally tells you because they ceased obeying the Most High and literally committed harlotry. Okay, so that's that part. Can you continue reading the rest of chapter 4?
Okay. Harlotry, wine, and new wine enslave the heart. My people ask counsel from their wooden idols, and their staff informs them. For the spirit of harlotry has caused them to stray, and they have played the harlot against their Elohim. They offer sacrifices on the mountaintops and burn incense on the hills, under oaks, poplars, and terebinths, because their shade is good. Therefore your daughters commit harlotry, and your brides commit adultery. I will not punish your daughters when they commit harlotry, nor your brides when they commit adultery. For the men themselves go apart with harlots, and offer sacrifices with a ritual harlot. Therefore, people who do not understand will be trampled. Though you, Israel, play the harlot, let not Judah offend. Do not come up to Gilgal, nor go up to Beth Aven, nor swear an oath, saying, As the Lord lives. For Israel is stubborn, like a stubborn calf. Now the Adon will let them forage, like a lamb in open country. Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone. Their drink is rebellion, they commit harlotry continually. Her rulers dearly love dishonor. The wind has wrapped her up in its wings, and they shall be ashamed because of their sacrifices.
Okay, so we see here again the curses because of their idolatry. And we see on verse 12 particularly, where it says, well, actually verse 13. Let me see. And then obviously we know that this is adultery. The harlot against their Elohim is committing adultery against him. Verse 13, where it says, they offer sacrifices on the mountaintops and burn incense on the hills under oaks, poplars, and terebinths, because of their shade. Their shade is good. Therefore, your daughters commit harlotry and your brides commit adultery. And by the way, this just reminds me of the part where it says, because their shade is good, is basically when people just go after other gods because what they appear to be good, like, oh, if I do this, I'm gonna get a reward, or it just feels good, or it feels right. And even in churchianity, because it feels right, the emotion, the feeling, the encounter, the experience, So this reminded me of Deuteronomy 12:2, where it says, you shall utterly destroy all the places where the nations which you shall dispossess served their gods, on the high mountains, on the hills, and under every green tree. That idea came from that Torah portion. And we have on verse 14, another idea that stems from Deuteronomy, which is the sacrifice with a ritual. Where is it? Verse 14, where it says, and offer sacrifice. Yeah, for the men themselves go apart with harlots and offer sacrifices with a ritual harlot. And it literally says it right there. I just saw it. Deuteronomy 23:18. Therefore, people who do not understand will be trampled. And that is key, because if you don't understand this Torah portion, I mean, if you don't understand Torah, period, you will be trampled, which goes back to Hosea 4:9. My people perish for lack of knowledge. But let's go back to Deuteronomy 23:18. It literally says, you shall not bring the wages of a harlot or the price of a dog to the house of the Adon your Elohim for any vowed thing, for any vowed thing, offering. For both of these are an abomination to the Adon your Elohim. And if you don't understand that concept, you will be trampled, because it's literally using, it's a poesy in a metaphor, but he's showing Israel literally by the Torah what will happen to them. Like he is doing that kind of like that correlation with, you see, I will not punish your daughters when they commit harlotry, nor your brides when they commit adultery. For the men themselves go apart with harlots and offer sacrifices with a ritual harlot. And it's literally what is telling you that you shall not do. Because for both of these are an abomination to the Adon. So just wanted to show that part. And then you have, so again, in essence, if you don't understand his Torah, his laws, you will be trampled. And we have verse 16 where it says, actually not 16, 17, where it says, Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone. And again, Ephraim is the house of Israel. And you're going to see it throughout that when it speaks of the house of Israel, many times it's just going to say Ephraim. So it's telling you that Ephraim is joined to idols. That's basically telling you that he is out of covenant completely. That's why he says, leave him alone. And again, it goes back to the names of the children. Not my people, no mercy, and scattered. Let him alone, in essence. And then you see this same idea. You're going to see it later on in Hosea 6:10, but let's read it. I have seen a horrible thing in the house of Israel. There is the harlotry of Ephraim. Israel is defiled. So again, the connection with Ephraim and the whole house of Israel, and that the harlotry, because of the harlotry, the whole house of Israel is defiled. We also see in Ezekiel 20, verse 43, and there you shall remember your ways and all your doings with which you were defiled, and you shall loathe yourselves in your own sight because of all the evils that you have committed. And Isaiah 7:8, for the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. Within 65 years, Ephraim will be broken, so that it will not be a people. Loami, right? I have a hard time remembering which one's which. Loami, not, Jezreel is those scattered. Loami is not my people. And then Lo, whoever is no mercy or not love. Sorry, guys. I actually have a little, let me see. I don't know if let me see if I did. Yeah, I have it right here. They're like the breakdown of the children, but let's go back to, I'm gonna finish chapter 4 and then I'm gonna show you some of these graphics to sum it up. And again, well, yeah, and again, we know, I already covered that one, that, he's left alone because of the fact that he's not in covenant, or she. We we say he, but we know that this is referring to the house of Israel, which is also a she. So again, they commit harlotry continually, and they shall be ashamed because of their sacrifices. That's an idea that is found throughout scriptures. So that is the end of chapter 4. What time is it? Let me see. Yeah, I had intended to finish by 10:30. So I'm not gonna cover 5. I was hoping, I'm not gonna lie, I was hoping to at least cover till 5 so that I can group the rest by Friday, because it's not as deep. I feel like the first 3 chapters takes longer, especially with the introduction. But I could, if anything, I'll break it down in 2 more studies, but I can try to bring it all together. Let me see if there's anything here that I need to say. Yes, that's so important. Why it's so important for the body to preach his truth. I mean, So going back to, yeah, I know Stephanie, sorry, Stephanie was just saying Fridays we also go a little longer. I will most likely take longer, even though, like I said, the first 3 chapters were just jam-packed with so many connections. I mean, Hosea throughout, I'm not gonna lie. But I think understanding the basis of Hosea, the rest will come easy because it's just a judgment. And then the hope at the end, the restoration of Israel. But I did want to just to sum it up, go over some of these graphics. I think I already kind of gave you, yeah, this is just an introduction. Yeah, I'm not gonna read through all of that. Let me just read through. Okay, this was just me taking notes, to be honest, gathering my information. You know what? Let me just read it really quick. It says here, along the lines of Israel's redemption in the New Testament, Peter and Paul understand Hosea's prophecies in an interesting way. In Hosea, the Most High tells Hosea to name his and Gomer's second and third children, not my people and no mercy, symbolizing that Israel was no longer his people and no longer received his mercy. As we learn in 2 Kings, the Most High exiled the northern kingdom of Israel, and they were scattered among the nations, like I said before. Again, this historical situation is the background of Hosea's prophecies. Significantly, according to Hosea, the Most High promised to restore Israel at the end of the age. One day, a faithful remnant of the northern kingdom will return and be reunited with the southern kingdom of Judah. Our father's judgment against the northern kingdom of Israel will be reversed. And I have this little graph here of the 3 children. So we have Jezreel, which is Elohim scatters. Assyrians eventually scattered Israel throughout the whole world, throughout all the nations. And the Most High pictured the defeat in the valley of Jezreel, and that's found in chapter 1, verse 5. Lo Ruhama, it means not loved. He chose this name to show Israel he no longer will show love to the house of Israel. He would show love to Judah, and we see that in verse 7. And then Lo Ami, which is not my people. So I just wanted to show that because I am very good with visuals, and that always helps. Both Peter and Paul quote from these prophecies in Hosea and apply them to the people who were reading their letters. And again, this is found throughout. It's in 1 Peter, like we read earlier. It's also in Romans. Guys, Romans 9 through 11, I'm going to leave you with a homework. Read through it, and you're going to see the connections, the beautiful connections with Hosea and Romans. Romans chapter 9 through 11 literally show it all. It's fascinating to me. But let's just read 1 Peter 2:10 here. Once you were not a people, but now you are Elohim's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy, which is what I read earlier. And then what's fascinating about Peter's and Paul's quotations of Hosea is that they apply Hosea's prophecies to their Gentile readers, which is what I was telling you guys earlier. In other words, Peter and Paul see their Gentile readers who have come to the Most High as the fulfillment of Hosea's prophecies concerning the restoration of Israel. But how does that work? Well, we know that Israel was his people. They were told so when they became a nation, as Exodus 6:7 says, I will take you to be my people and I will be your Elohim. However, when the northern kingdom of Israel was exiled, they became not my people. So this northern kingdom became just like the Gentiles, the other nations who are also not his people. When Israel was then scattered among the nations, they became indistinguishable from the Gentiles. There was no way to tell them apart, which is what we see right now. There's no way to tell, even believers, quote unquote believers, you can't tell them apart because they act just as Gentiles, because his church has been brainwashed into believing that we are Gentiles. Once you come to him, you're no longer a Gentile, as Paul himself states, but you are from the commonwealth of the house of Israel. And that's found in Ephesians chapter 2, I want to say. Why is this significant? Because in the midst of Peter and Paul, when their Gentile readers who are not my people come to faith in the Messiah, the promise of Israel's restoration is coming to fruition. I like this little chart that I found on Google here of the lost tribes. They were scattered again by the Assyrians, and no one knows till this day what became of them. I believe they got absorbed by all the nations. And again, this is going to be at the end of the study, but this is basically why he said that he would restore Israel. And I believe that that promise is being fulfilled as we speak, as I'm doing what I'm doing, and we're doing what we're doing, which is preaching the gospel to all. So, and again, the idea of, someone mentioned it before, and that's I think the Great Commission. I think that was Stephanie. Someone mentioned it before. If it wasn't you, it's literally that, to go and preach to every tongue, tribe, and nation. That is the idea of bringing back a people who were not a people, but we're calling them back, just as the parable of the wedding banquet. We're calling all the guests around the world. So I'm gonna leave this for next study. So having shared all of that, that ends our portion for tonight of the first part of Hosea's study. And I'm gonna end the recording.